Hello, this is Nicole Austin with the Shawn Petite creative team, and I'm here for another creative team post. First, I'm going to add some oil pastels and watercolor to my background. I'm not thinking too much about composition or placement, just trying to get some color on the page. Adding some drips for some fun texture. Playing with the stencils. This is the Dylusions inks in turquoise and bubblegum pink, and I'm just spraying through the stencil, stamping it down, and then also rubbing through with a baby wipe. It's just a great way to use up all that ink and get just different varieties of color on the page. Now I'm adding one of my favorite supplies, which is decorative napkins. I use that as collage paper. I'm just using a glue stick and carefully getting a nice thin coat on this one side and then placing it down and just pressing very gently, trying to get all those wrinkles and bubbles out and trying not to let it stick to my hand. And here I'm just playing with the placement of the flower behind the lady's hair and just deciding where I want that to go. And once I've decided where it's going to go, just kind of glue it down, and then any extra I can just tear off and add to the page. Now, once I've decided where the lady is going to go, I use a Stabilo Mark Salt pencil. I make sure it's real sharp, and then I trace through as much of the lines as I can. And you just want to make sure that you get most of the lines. Sometimes the pencil can't get through in the really detailed areas, and that's okay. You can just lift up your stencil and kind of check where the alignment is, and you'll also want to connect any of the lines. And just kind of draw in little details like the lips. And then I'm going to come through with a oil paint stick in white. I'm just laying down just kind of a light coat all over the skin and then blending it with my finger. You can also use a blending stick if you want, the kinds that you use with charcoal. And when you blend this around, if you have any oil crayon or oil pastel underneath, it will move around a little bit, but I kind of like it. It kind of gives it a nice little kind of hazy look. And what's really interesting is the red circle actually ended up being the cheek, totally by accident. But you could plan that too. You could plan that placement if you want. And now I'm just lightly blending in the yellow ochre oil paint stick, and just to get like just a general face color. I'm not worrying too much about if it looks realistic or not. I just want a little bit of color, and I want it to be a little translucent so I can still see the layers underneath. Now I'm going back with my Stabilo pencil and adding details, and then going back in with a water brush, and that will darken all the Stabilo lines. And here I'll also color in the hair and just really darken that so that it starts to stand out from the background. What's really great is you can still see a little bit of the flower, which is interesting. It kind of gives her gives her like an interesting purple and blue hair color. Now I'm just using the water brush to just darken any of the other Stabilo lines, and this is especially helpful if you've covered up any while you're using the oil paint sticks. Now I'm using a gold paint pen just to give the details to the earrings, and a fluorescent pink paint pen for the cheeks and the lips. And I'm just blotting it with my finger, just blending it real loosely. And always trace over anything with your Stabilo pencil. And now I'm deciding I really want this lady to stand out, and so I'm just adding a nice layer of white acrylic paint with a sponge. And you can go either way. You just really want your focal point to stand out, so you can go either lighter than the focal point, or you can go really dark. Either way is fine, but I kind of like the light because I just wanted a little bit of that color to peek through. So I just went ahead and just went with the white. It's also great because you can always add texture and stamps and other things later to the background. And just outline again with Stabilo, just to keep those lines crisp. And then now tracing the bird stencil, and I made the placement. I wanted the butterfly to be in the bird's body, so I made sure to make sure that that was placed that way. Now I'm just retracing it with a Stabilo pencil, going around that with white as well to kind of block out that bird so you can really see it against the background. And then filling in the rest of the background with turquoise, blend it on the top a little bit, also kind of blending it with my finger. And then going on the bottom with the Prussian blue hue. And I'm not covering the entire background. I kind of want some of the butterflies to peek out. And now I'm adding some high flow acrylic and just tracing the body of the bird. I make sure that the nozzle is almost closed so that you don't get a big, bunch of ink coming out. Now using spray ink to add some interesting lines, and then using a little water mister to kind of move those ink sprays around a little bit. Now I'm just writing the sentiment with the Stabilo pencil, and it's really great because it will write over any surface. I made sure that the paint was dry first. And also tracing, while the bird outline is still a little bit wet, I'm using the Stabilo pencil to kind of define the line a little bit, and then adding more details with the paint pen. And the good old water brush. Anytime that you draw or write with the Stabilo pencil, it's nice to come in with the water brush to darken it up. And now I'm just adding a little bit more white around the bird just so that it stands out. And then while that paint is still wet, I'm kind of picking it up and I'm moving it around to the darker areas. And then also moving around the darker paint to the lighter areas. And now I'm going in with the paint pen and just adding a couple little elements. And the page could be finished at this point. You can just leave it like this, or you can keep going, like you'll see, but it's up to you. You decide when it's finished. Now I'm just kind of going in with a really fine detailed brush and just cleaning up the lines a little bit of the words, and then coming in with the paint pens again for more decoration to the background. And I make sure that I use a little bit of each color on both sides to kind of tie the two pages together. And now just stenciling in love, and then some X's and O's with acrylic paint. And then coming in with the water brush again to kind of give the Stabilo some little drips, and then adding more ink as well. Just wanting to just give a little bit more detail to the background. And then adding some water spray, just kind of trying to blend in all those layers. And so the drips are all over the page, which looks really nice. And now I'm just cleaning up the bird a little bit just around the edges, just so you could still see it amid all the chaos in the background. And now adding some white in the middle, just really trying to make that butterfly inside the bird stand out a little bit more. love with the white Stabilo pencil, and then adding some more collage flowers to the background. And then just stenciling over the top to get that the word back, and then using my paintbrush to just darken the letters a little bit more, and then adding some more details with the tip of the brush, and then redrawing any lines with the Stabilo pencil and tracing over areas I might have lost. Thanks so much. This will be my last post for the creative team. It's been such a great honor to be part of the team. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you're inspired to create something of your own. Thanks again.